Warner Brothers' biggest mistake was this. You can't get another artist to fix another artist's work. If you invest hundreds of millions into something, you need to get X back. You have to put yourself out of the mindset of you, the fans, and think about the general audience. So this is what people need to understand. And I hope that you're listening out there. This is what people need to understand. Stop with the Joss Whedon hate. Stop. Because after watching that 4-hour version of Justice League, which was better than what we got, that still doesn't mean that it gives you the right to say Whedon screwed over Zack Snyder. Because people think just from the point of view of the audience. They don't think from the point of view of the business and the company. Warner Brothers don't put in hundreds of millions to appease fanboys and to appease a fan base. They don't do that. Because remember, keep in mind, it's no skin off Warner Brothers' back just to give Snyder 60-70 million just to do this on HBO Max. Warner Brothers were never ever going to greenlight a Snyder film going forward with regards to a theatrical release. They will never ever give Snyder hundreds of millions to make anything to do with DC. That is never happening. And Warner Brothers was right. But let's just look at Whedon right now. Why was Whedon hired? Because see, you have to understand it from Warner Brothers' point of view. That 4-hour thing that I saw, first of all, you can't release for 4 hours. That's impossible. That's the first thing. You can't release 4 hours. Next thing, you now have to edit that down to at least 2 hours, maximum 2.5 hours. And that's pushing it. For a superhero movie, that's pushing it, but max 2.5 hours. If I am a professional editor and I look at that cut, I'm like, I don't know how, because from what you've given me based on the story and the characters, I don't know how I can take that and make it 2.5 hours. So what did Warner Brothers do? Think. They are businessmen. They're a business. Yes, they want to entertain, but they are first and foremost a business. A dude made a team-up movie in the same genre that was one of the most successful films of that year, 2012, in Avengers. So in their mind, they say, this guy obviously must have a knack for making this thing work, because they can keep in mind, they're not making this film for you fanboys. They're making it for general audiences, for general people to like. So they're thinking that, yes, we want to appease the fanboys, but for the amount of money we're spending to make this film and for marketing, we want general audiences to like this thing. We want the regular people who have not picked up a comic book in their life to enjoy this film. So they said, let me just bring in Joss Whedon, and perhaps through Joss Whedon, he will then be able to create a film that somehow is similar to our Avengers, and condense what Zack Snyder has and then put it out for people. I felt that, the beef you have to have is with Warner Brothers, not with Joss Whedon. So let me ask you this. Joss Whedon shouldn't have taken the role. Somebody comes to me and offers me a huge amount of money to come and finish off a film. Joss Whedon doesn't know Zack Snyder. He doesn't know him. He's hired to do a job. So him doing this isn't him like disrespecting Snyder or Snyder's issue with his daughter or so, because Snyder never said publicly, I don't want anyone to touch my film. So from Joss Whedon's point of view is, okay, these guys obviously need help, because they've invested a lot of money into this film. They need to release it based on how much money they've invested into it. And from Whedon's point of view is, okay, I'm coming here to help out. And after watching Justice League, because I remember, I watched the Justice League about like a few months ago, because I was not going to watch it in the cinema. I watched it a few months ago. Not a great film. It was better than BVS. I was like, oh, but at least I can sort of condense this more than BVS, which was a complete horror show. But when you watch now this 4-hour film, it's of course it will be better because it's longer. So it has more time to breathe. So it's being better is not that big a thing because it's freaking 4 hours. But my thing now is, okay, Snyder, can you make this 4 hours into 2.5 hours? And I was like, because the issue is, the reason why you can't make it 4 hours into a 2.5 hours is because the story you've put out there isn't strong enough. The material, even in those 4 hours, isn't strong enough to give you a 2.5 hour thing, because the artistry of making a film is, how can I tell a compelling story in 2.5 hours? Specifically, how can I tell a compelling story with multiple characters in 2.5 hours? You look at our Avengers, even if you had never seen any of their films before and you just came into Avengers cold, which many people did. A lot of people went into Avengers cold without watching any of the previous films based on how popular that film was. You can still understand, wow, the camaraderie, the cohesion, the back-to-back within the characters, the chemistry, and just how they came from a bunch of misfits who didn't really trust each other to now forming as a team. Because the script was strong. And this is what I said before. Warner Brothers' biggest mistake was this. You can't get another artist to fix another artist's work. I'll give you an example. Eyes Wide Shut. Kubrick died halfway making Eyes Wide Shut. So they hired, I can't remember who it was, but they hired a friend of Kubrick's who came in to finish the film. Now, when he finished the film, because this was Kubrick's vision and he was a fan of Kubrick and everybody wanted Kubrick's vision to put out, he was like, what would Kubrick have done? I'm not Kubrick, but I'm trying to make a film as to what Kubrick would have done. So that is where it works. But no, we are finishing it in his vision. Warner Brothers saw what they saw from Justice League and were like, this is going to flop. This is going to, from what the material that we have here, so even if we allow Snyder to finish it, it's not going to work, because remember, BVS flopped. Let's keep it a stack. Based on how much they put into BVS and also with the marketing stuff, they wanted to make $1 billion. You have to put yourself out of the mindset of you, the fans, and think about the general audience. So you guys said, oh no, and BVS was great, it was amazing, it was so cool. Yeah, you may have liked it, but that's not how film business works. Use your brain. If you invest hundreds of millions into something, you need to get X back. So perhaps I believe that in BVS and even Justice League, they probably invested 2, 3, 4, 500 million in terms of production costs, promotion, and marketing. So when you combine all those things, you're pushing 400, 500 million, which would mean, bruh, we need to make $1 billion. We need to make $1 billion. So we need to make $1 billion to make the profit that we desire if we're putting 400 to 500 million into this, which is not what BVS did, and Justice League would have been a complete. Zack Snyder releasing Justice League, even if he had edited that down and been allowed to edit it down to 24 hours, it would have been a complete and total train wreck of a flop. Not fan people, general audiences would have not liked that film. Not a chance. Because it's in two things. I told it, when I did my full review, 25 minutes, I said it's better than what Joss Whedon did, because it's longer. So you have more time for scenes to breathe and you have much more time to introduce characters. But ultimately, I didn't like the film, because you've not done well to introduce this character. I still don't know who the hell Superman is. You don't introduce Superman well. Batman showed up in BVS. Okay, Wonder Woman is there whatsoever. Flash just shows up. So that is different from an Avengers film where you've had a 10-year build-up of this character. Well, you've had several years build-up of these characters. In Avengers, like they've at least had a film, specifically Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. So after with this whole Snyder Cut and so forth, because what I even said is that I think that there is a future for this one on HBO Max, in terms of a Batman series, Superman series, Cyborg series, on HBO Max. Snyder's universe is finished in terms of the major theatrical run. It is finished in terms of Warner Brothers actually putting hundreds of millions into it. That's not happening. It's a done deal. The focus for Warner Brothers right now is Matt Reeves' Batman and another Superman reboot and, of course, Flash. Because I think for Warner Brothers, I think the mistake they made is Snyder was the wrong guy to run this. He was the wrong guy to take charge of this. Because what they should have done is, if we're hiring Joss Whedon from scratch, you start literally from scratch. Although I think Guillermo del Toro would have been a better pick because I think this is much more serious. So you need a guy that's a bit more serious, a lot more edgier. But 100%, you can't hire another artist to finish another artist's work. You hire another artist to start from freaking scratch. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is, man. It's the film for me. Nah, it's. But that's my bottom line is that Snyder guys, man. Your beef against Whedon makes no sense. He makes no sense because he tried to fix something that was ultimately unfixable. You have to think about that. People say, "Oh my gosh, he butchered Zack Snyder's thing." I mean, are you stupid? He was hired by a company who, from what they saw, was a film which they believed was going to flop. And they were right. If Snyder was allowed to release his vision, the film would have flopped 100%. And there are films that flopped that have a massive cult following. So of course, would have had a massive, huge cult following. A lot of guys would have liked it. That's not Warner Brothers are not going to spend hundreds of millions just for a cult following. No, we want hundreds of millions so we break even, get into the green, and make a massive profit. That's how film business works. So your beef for Whedon makes no sense. Your beef to Warner Brothers makes sense, but even that doesn't make sense. Because if you understand the film business of stuff, Warner Brothers were in the right. Just that, I think they were right to bring in someone to try to course correct it. But my thing in Warner Brothers is it's a hard thing to say, but as I said, guys, it's a done deal. Because I would say, I would have said, it's the only thing they could have done is start from scratch. Starts from scratch. A Justice League film starts from scratch. From total, even if it doesn't make sense. I mean, DC is in such a mad, crazy place because you're having yet another Superman reboot. And because the introduction of Batman was such a complete, utter mess, you now have a Batman existing here, another Batman exists in Matt Reeves' thing. And you have a Joker who existed in Suicide Squad as a particular iteration and is now a totally different iteration in this Justice League. I mean, DC is in such a freaking mess. It's crazy. But I think that's what I want to say is that, I mean, tell me what you think, but I just do believe that this is the end of Snyder's universe on the big screen. This is the end of Warner Brothers being emotionally invested in Zack Snyder presenting to the DCEU. Now, there could be a future on HBO Max, and I think there could be with smaller budgets and smaller films. But on the bigger scale, right now, I think that DC, their focus should be standalone films in the vein of Joaquin Phoenix's, Todd Phillips' Joker, and make sure and ensure you get Batman right under Matt Reeves. Like the vid, subscribe.